So, hey guys, welcome back to the Expats in Ukraine channel. I'm your host, Corey. My first guest is going to be Christopher Occhicone. He just told me Occhicone, right? Occhicone.
Yes, that's it.
Okay, yeah, he's a photojournalist. You've probably seen his photos, all over kind of media, Ukrainian media. Yeah, he was even telling me that they have a mural, near Lukyanovska Metro here in Kyiv, based on one of his photos. I'm super excited. I was chatting with him before, the cameras are filming. Super interesting guy. So, I'll tell you what, Christopher, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience and just tell them what you do, why you're in
Okay,
Ukraine.
so I'm a photographer, photojournalist, documentary photographer. I came here first in 2014 for a short trip to spend. I wanted to spend a couple of weeks with one of the volunteer battalions fighting in the East. And that kind of turned into I came back again. I made a very close friend and came back again. And by 16, I'd become a resident and was living here about 50-50 until the full invasion. And after the full invasion here, 90% of the time. And, I would say my time in Ukraine is like two parts, like pre-invasion, like a lot of people, pre-invasion, not publishing a lot of work. I was going back to the United States to work, working for Bloomberg, New York Times, like local stuff, Metro and things like this.
So you're mostly like photojournalism, like back in the US, right?
Yeah. And like to pay the bills. And, as you know, if I worked for 6 weeks there, I could come back and stay here for 6 weeks and live cheaply, as cheap as possible in the United States, and then kind of live actually much better here and go back and forth like this. And then, all of that of not publishing a lot of work here, but sticking to longer term stories, like projects that keep going back to the same place, kind of set me up well for by the time the full invasion and media attention came back to really kind of have contacts, have a good sense of what's going on, of the character of the people, character and feeling, like how to be with soldiers, things like this. So it's in a good spot.
Okay, yeah, and so when is your first experience like with Ukraine? Like when did you first come to Ukraine? Like
So in 2014, yeah.
Okay, right on. So it was like during this
in the summer. No, I
afterward?
didn't come in Maidan. I actually had a change of life. I was 40 years old. I had kind of an adventurous.
If I can stop you real quick, you look amazing, man. For being 40 back then, I was doing some math in my head.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd have a skincare regime.
Yeah, I need one of those, man.
Yeah, no, you need a little retinol, sun care. Oh. All right, you kids out there, you use your creams. So, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I had this change of life. A quick story. I'd always been interested in photojournalism when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I looked at National Geographic. I'd just go to the library and just look at it, and also look at atlases and maps and where I could go and what I could photograph. And, just like my father was a mechanic from the Bronx, like, an Italian, son of Italian immigrants, like your mentality was like a small business. How do you make money? How do you make money when you're not there? Like in something, nobody went to college. So like go to college, you'll get a good job, whatever that means, like inside, not out in the cold. So like to be a photographer I had interest, and it was always like looking at it secretly, but it was never expressed. And, when I was just before I turned 40, a friend of mine from university had cancer, and he was in between treatments, and it was like non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, something like this, like a pretty good success rate, right? And things were looking good, then they weren't looking good. So they told him, we're going to try something experimental, but in the meantime, you can enjoy yourself. Like, don't worry about your diet. You want to drink, you want to smoke, whatever, do what you like. So we went to Montreal to watch the New York Rangers play there, and we went... rated R stuff we got up to. We had a good time, we partied, and then we had one of those late night conversations, after a lot of drinks, a lot of other things like, about what you're going to do with your life. And I told him I want to be Ron Haviv or play goalie for the New York Rangers. And he said, who's Ron Haviv? I explained it's this like cool photojournalist who photographed the war in Yugoslavia. Yeah. Kind of made his name there. And he asked me two questions. Do you have a camera and can you skate? And the answer was no. So he got me a camera and goalie equipment. And I was like, no, this is in your hands. It like arrived at my house. I took some classes at International Center of Photography. Also went skating every morning for years, like for 2 years, just like getting serious about making the NHL. And, but I took some classes, and then in 13, 14, I was encouraged by a mentor, a photographer called Joseph Rodriguez, to go to the program full time.
Okay.
It's small, like 30 people. So while I was there, Maidan happened. Having lived in Poland before, having been like a kind of, I was a history major in undergrad, and in the early 90s, everybody talking about like, you need to understand this part of the world. You should learn Russian. This is like the place where everything's going to happen. I was married to a Polish woman at the time. They hated the Russians. Like so I knew a lot of the history.
Hate the Russians. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's for good reasons.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so I was like poised, like, and then a European war, like it was everything. My grandfather was also, I have his dog tags here, was a medic in the Second World War.
Oh, wow.
So like, and we were super close. He told me things about his war experience he didn't tell my cousins. For example, I have two male cousins, 1 year older, 1 year younger. We were all close with him, but had different relationships. But he told, for them, he was like an old man. And for me, he was an interesting guy, like who,
Yeah.
his glory days were in the war. Is the best time of his life, despite. And so you heard stories about the guys. So I really wanted to come and do that. And I came, and I would say it was not successful at all. I didn't publish anything. I didn't know what I was doing, but I met people. And, so I couldn't come during Maidan. I was dying to come. I was really debating, but I was working on a story that ended up being in Time magazine. I couldn't have started off better.
Yeah.
But I wasn't able to come, but I was itching. So as soon as I was done, I came, and it was like a week after MH17 was shot down.
Oh, that's the one that was over Donbass.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then there was like some controversy who shot it down, but then it was like
Yeah, it was
the
yeah.
separatists. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was Gierkin.
Gitkin, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It was like
So
a lot of Dutch
yeah.
people on that plane, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So I mean, so like when I say I met people, like I met a guy. It's quite funny. Like my best friend, my brother. Like I don't know another way to say it. Like this, my friend. I had hired a translator and a driver, and we were staying with guys from Battalion Donbass, and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just like, I'm going to figure this out. There's only one way to do things, right? It's just to jump in. So we're there, and it's quiet. We're near a place called Ilovaisk, not far from there. Like guys were going to fight there, which is like a pivotal.
City Ilovaisk?
Yeah, I mean it's a pivotal moment in the war. It's a massacre. Ukrainians got massacred. Russians captured people.
Wow.
But it was quiet for a few days, and this guy Volva suggests I met him there. We go to somewhere near Mariupol. His brother is a captain in the army, and we can do whatever we want. Like whatever that means. I don't know. I think literally whatever we want. If you want to,
some ideas.
no, I mean you can go what you want, photograph what you want. You want to shoot this rocket, they will let you push the button. I mean, crazy dudes. So I guess that's what he meant by whatever. So I tell this translator driver. And he's like, okay, I'll go work it out. I'll go talk to this guy. And I hear just a string of obscenities. And basically, to make a long story short, he fires my translator, fixer. He's like, because this guy's like, you're going to get us killed. Like, it's quiet here. And ironically, the guys we were with, so now this guy's like, don't worry, I got you. Like, he's also just a cameraman going around with no money, Yeah. And just like, he's one of the most interesting guys you could possibly meet. Like, and he's running around then with just a camera, like feeling like he needs to film stuff. And also like sometimes weapon, sometimes camera. And this was kind of his MO up until now. I mean, he's in special forces now. He's still running around with a camera and his rifle.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, he's a maniac, man. So it's like super, like passionate, patriotic, just golden person. So this guy, like somebody, it was almost like you're in grade school and somebody's like, you guys want to be friends? And like, okay, like almost like that. So like we're still, sending each other horrific memes and also, you know what I mean? Every 5 minutes and all of this. So I end up teaming up with this guy. It didn't work out, but I met him. And now going back to, this time when the airliner was shot down. So who do I meet from him? I meet a guy of just like how Ukraine worked, how it worked for me. In 2016, I go with them to battle in the industrial area prom zone between Avdiivka and Donetsk. And guys from Right Sector, his group at the time,
The Pravi sector, right?
is defending with the Ukrainian army, defending positions. And they were really, there was a commander, and the commander was staying with the commander of Right Sector, and the guys from Right Sector were doing all the planning. You know, like they had more experience, more motivation. And luckily they had a commander who, the commander of the army, who, as I understood it, just like was willing to listen and take advice. And they did well. It killed a lot of separatists, a lot. And it was intense. The most intense up until 2022. So there, I meet a guy called Triton, right? His call sign.
Oh, call sign. Okay,
yeah. So about my age, big beard, and just like look
From
rough.
Sector, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks super rough, but also like you look in his eyes, super gentle, like an interesting guy. And I would say like this was the first time. So I'll take it back to the plane and who you meet.
Yeah.
But like this was the first in 16. Washington Post took my story. I wrote an essay about it and 20-page online thing. But like it was my first okay, like now I'm getting somewhere. I understand like my tendency is to not run around shooting news, but I feel we're gonna talk about that later, but I'd rather stay with people for days, ideally weeks, and return, right? So with these guys, we'll fast forward. I met this guy then, and super competent, always like never running. Like we're under constant fire. They got to go outside to reload AGS, like a belt-fed grenade launcher. So like, I mean, there's small arms fire. They're super close, but no drones. So as scary as it was, not having that.
I mean, drone warfare, like
it's terrifying, dude.
Yeah. From 2022 and on, it seems like it ramped up. Yeah.
And you have it's terrifying. Like places that I've gone in the past, like how super close to Russians. Like I wouldn't go there now.
Yeah.
No. I mean, we'll talk about that, but, so this guy left Right Sector and goes to Special Forces, right? He went in, I guess, 17 into Luhansk area, and the guy who fired the Buk missile system that shot down that plane, him and his group, they bag over the head, zip tie, extraction. Like these guys, what kind of balls do you have to go into enemy territory, cover of night?
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, but I think like face painted like Navy SEAL, like he went on to that, and he's a guy who's like 47 years old at the time.
Yeah.
Like he does that on the way out. They step on a landmine. He loses his leg. Another guy is killed. Like immediately, like as soon as he got to Kyiv, I have a video of him jumping rope with a cigarette in his mouth and like, no. Like he's ready to go back and kill Russians. So where is he now? Like now I'm working with his son to import drones, experimental drone. He's in charge of a drone company in 14th Brigade and with one leg.
Yeah.
And his son is a drone pilot in his group. One of my friends, professor at Shevchenko University in normal times of anthropology. He's a captain in his group. It's like getting the band back together,
Yeah.
But this guy now, we are working on importing some experimental drones from the United States, how to get them into the United States through customs stuff, with this guy that I met in a basement in Avdiivka in early 2016. Like I find like with soldiers and military here, like you make friends with guys. It's like an old-fashioned way of trusting people.
Yeah.
That you shake hands and agree to something, and until you've proven them wrong, they trust you. Like, and I had this like with the commander then. Like there was some guys from the Ukrainian army, not from the Right Sector group we were with, that got killed, and he says, don't publish anything with their faces because while they're dead and faces. And I took pictures and. He never said it. We went back to Kyiv and drinking. And I said, you want to see those pictures? He's like, why? I was like, just to check. He's like, no, I told you. You said you would. You said you wouldn't. So if you did, we just wouldn't be friends anymore.
A lot of respect, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Just like we wouldn't be friends anymore. That's it. And I would never have to recommend one. You'd be out of my life. You wouldn't exist to me. And I like this attitude, of just so trusting.
Now, I was going to ask you about like you're assimilating to Ukraine, but it seems like you just came over and you went straight to like the front lines to document everything. And yeah, you didn't have like a clear direction, but then you kind of found it's like really quickly, it seems like, man.
Yeah, I mean, it was over 2 years, but of short visits. And, I had this feeling of like every time I came, the first 2 years of coming and then coming back 3-4 months later, of like, I think now I understand, my friend, this guy Vova, always explaining something new and like pointing things out about society, about people. that like, you should know this, man. Like always saying that,
Yeah.
and like give you some like, I think I understand something. And then every time after like a month, 6 weeks, when I'm getting ready to go back, I'd feel like I've learned something. And then I'd get back to the United States, think about it, and like, I don't know anything, and then like always like kind of level up a little bit about what kind of understanding of the situation.
Yeah, I saw that you kind of know some Ukrainian, right?
So
So, like, what would you say your level is?
like high, beginner, low, intermediate.
Do you speak Russian too, or do you know Russian? Not at all.
Nah.
Yeah, because I was talking to you earlier. You seem kind of like very hardline on this Ukraine Russia thing. So when you're working with the guys in private sector, they always speak like Ukrainian. I can imagine. Right?
No. Some speak Russian. I mean, it depends where they're from.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like for example, like I'm also so how it works too. Like I went with those guys. They became the 67th Brigade, and I went with them in Bakhmut in the summer of 22, and I mean, I'm not. I could tell you some funny stories, but I don't know if it's appropriate. Maybe if it's not appropriate, you could maybe take it out. But
yeah, well, that's a story, man. I like funny stories.
So, and I can say, my friend takes this guy, Volva, takes me to a group of guys from right sector that I don't know, but like, who's like, oh, Chris knows this guy and that guy, and the commander I knew, and he took me to a lower level commander. Can he stay? Like, we stayed with him for 2 or 3 days, and, he's like, can go stay with you. And, like for a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. And I don't know, I don't want to be responsible. Like, it's not a problem, but like, what if, like, I mean, literally, it's like, if he gets killed, how do I explain this? What do I do? And like, haha, we just dig a hole. Just leave him there. Like, like, and joke, obviously they would not do that. But like, so, and then there was like a joke that this guy, Pedro, his call sign, he hasn't smiled since 2014. And if you saw him, I mean, just like, mid-30s, shaved head, big beard, a lot of muscles, a lot of hard lines in his face, scary look, super nice guy, but scary looking. You know what I mean? If you're going to judge by a book by its, you'd cross the street. You know what I mean? You wouldn't mess with him, that's for sure. So he hasn't laughed in a long time. So they're like, like tell him a joke, and like if he laughs, if if he tells you a joke in Ukrainian and he laugh and and you laugh, can he stay? He's like, yeah, okay. So now I've got a bunch of people like, is he gonna laugh? And he obviously he laughs from time to time, but it's exaggerated. But he's pretty stone faced. I try to make an effort to speak Ukrainian. I mean, I made a conscious effort to learn Ukrainian, but if I know a word in Polish or I just know this word, I don't know why, I will use it until corrected. You know? I mean, I'm not like stickler. Like I was with somebody for some time that was from Donetsk and real serious about speaking Ukrainian. Where like, you go to the kebab shop and the guy is from Afghanistan and he says one word in Russian. She's like, I refuse to speak. And it's like, but you were involved in the military for 14, 15, 16. You know people. We know somebody who's not hero, like one level below this guy who lost his leg, like not hero of Ukraine, but like a level. He speaks Surgic. Like, great heroes that speak Russian. Like, I understand. I think it's super important to change the language in the next generation. Yeah. Like, you want to get rid of, like, weed out Russian, but like the commander of the medical, I stay with guys from 5th Brigade Medical Rota for like a week, a month since August 22 in Donbass, and they've moved a few times, but stay, like go live with them. And the commander retired in the summertime. He was anesthesiologist at the in civilian life at the trauma hospital of traumatology in Kyiv. She's like serious person and amazing leader. And he turned 60 and he either had to sign a 3-year contract or retire. So he debated and decided to retire. But he's Russian speaking. This guy has like the medal just below Hero of Ukraine for saving 14 guys, went behind enemy lines, saved people, fought in Afghanistan, had medical clinic on Maidan. Yeah. Like, you're going to tell this guy what he should speak?
Yeah, no, because right now I feel like Ukraine is like very divided like on this. Because I met like so many Ukrainians that it's like, this is Ukraine, you speak Ukrainian. And I have like, some friends that they grew up speaking Russian because of their parents, Soviet Union, something like this. And they just feel comfortable, speaking Russian. They support their country. They support Ukraine on this war. But, these people, they're like, they both have the same goal. They want Ukraine to win, but they're both kind of like having this conflict with each other. Like, for example, I have like some of my Ukrainian friends that come to Odessa because I've been living in Odessa like last few months. And they're kind of just so upset that people still speak Russian down there, even like kind of businesses. I know it's kind of like against the law. And it's like super controversial. And speaking of controversy, I know Pravi sector is like a bit controversial as well.
Nah,
Now you think
I don't think so. I mean, you
but
can
you
make
understand the controversy, right?
I don't. I mean, I think it's all BS. I think it's lies. I mean, and I would tell you, like, we used to be hysterical over, like, they're
Yeah,
Nazis.
can you explain like the controversy?
So, like, people, there was in 14, it kind of came to the beginning of this talk about this Nazis and this Azov right sector. And this is my experience is I never met one. I was with guys from Azov a little bit. I've got some friends. I never met one. I'm like, I know 100 guys in the right sector. I don't know anybody, like close. I know people that like, maybe that are right wing, that are conservative, like culturally,
Yeah.
not big fans of like a big LGBT movement, like with like a parade, like you would see a pride parade. No, they wouldn't. They look at this as like it's disgusting.
Yeah.
But like as far as like gay rights go, like you should be allowed to have a civil partnership. I don't think they care. I think they're very much more like libertarian, generally speaking. But like it's also a group like you look at what became Duke, like the volunteer Ukrainian corpus, and then 67th Brigade. Like it's thousands of people. You're going to find somebody with every point of view.
Well, of course.
But
yeah.
no, I mean, and I can tell you, like we used to, salute each other, joking around
Roman
because it, like not in a joking way. Like you see your friend in the subway and be like, "What's up?"
Yeah.
How you feeling? How fascist you feeling today?
Yeah.
A little bit. And like, so we used to joke, like, I mean, never like in a big way, but like,
Yeah.
we're like, cause like a little fascist and joke about it because they were joking about, like
Yeah.
this
It's
twist.
like a meme at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then I remember in maybe it was 2018, I was with the same guys. Like core is always the same, and guys come and go because they were all volunteers.
Yeah.
So like sometimes, the group there might only be 30 guys at the time, only 30 guys there, but different 10 are the same always, and the other ones come and go depending on work and personal lives. So we were reading something. It was an opinion piece. It was the end of. I was reading it on my phone in the New York Times. An opinion piece about what Poroshenko, something he said, his speech at Babin Yar, right?
Babin Yar. Okay.
So
Babin Yar is like the massacre, right?
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And
So,
then yeah, monument.
Obviously,
there.
there's Ukrainians that were complicit. I mean, there's always locals that are complicit in every tragedy, every I don't know what the right word is. Crime against, whatever you want to call it. This is always locals everywhere on the throughout any war. Locals collaborate.
Yeah.
It always is, and but he I'm not sure what he said that upset the person writing the opinion piece, but it was referring to like this like neo-Nazi thread going through Ukrainian politics, and we were laughing at it because like who's sitting with us? There's like two guys who were Jewish, some volunteers who came to bring a van filled with food, medical supply, all whatever stuff, war things, and they're from Kyiv, and they're secular but Jewish, and like we're having a good laugh about it. And the best part is one of the guys is he wasn't in the right sector, but he would just happen to be there. He was in the army and he was around, and he's a rabbi. He's from Boston. He grew up in Odessa, went to Boston as a kid, became a rabbi. War started, he came back, and he's got payas.
Yeah.
And he's got a red and black flag with a Jewish star on it. And I've seen this around.
Yeah.
Like he had that flag over his bed. He had a patch, and I've seen a few guys with this chevron. So really laughing about it, and like I'm laughing too, but it's like at some point you see like guys, like this is the New York Times, like it's putting an idea in somebody's head. So like you don't know what's going on in Ukraine, but like I was reading the Sunday paper and I read something about Ukrainian Nazis. Then you hear it again a year later. And like, yeah, I think I read something about that. It's like planting seeds, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's building propaganda. They can't hit you in the head with it, you know what I mean, all at once in the beginning. I mean, and then there's some stupid stuff like what happened in Canada with the Canadian
Oh
Parliament.
yeah, they
I mean,
underage this Nazi. Yeah.
so
But I want to ask
that's
you.
bad.
Yeah.
But no, I never met one. I never met one. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And like I've had on Russian Telegram, like somebody had pointed out, like there was a picture of me with some soldiers and like a circle of my tattoo and like American Nazi journalist.
Which tattoo? Which tattoo?
This one.
Oh, okay, like the trident. Huh?
Yeah, like, like I, if you saw,
But what are your thoughts on Bandera then?
you know, what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? Like you're in between. I'm not, you know, I think he's a hero of Ukrainian people. I understand it. I admire him.
Nah, he's
For the
super
simple-
controversial, man.
Yeah,
Like, I was
okay.
in Bukovel like a few weeks back.
In where?
In Bukovel. Bukovel, it's like a ski resort in Ivano-Frankivsk Oblast.
So I think he's pretty popular there. There's no
Yeah.
controversy.
So I was in Tatariv. I just got off like the train, and right when you get off the train, there's like a big statue, like a bust of Bandera. You know, with like the flags and all of this, like the red and black flag. But he's like super controversial here, and you know, people.
Here is not so controversial.
No, like,
You know?
here, I guess
In Ukraine, it's not.
in Europe, okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to make him controversial, I mean, it's like you just don't want to do the full story. Like you're anti-Soviet, and some other guys come.
Yeah,
And
'cause
like,
Russia
we
uses
want
this
to
as
kill.
propaganda, yeah.
Yeah, you were there actively fighting the Russians. Some other guys come, and they're like, we would also actively like to fight the Russians. Would you like to fight them together? Sure. Is he a fan of the Germans? No. I mean, if anybody's read Mein Kampf, which so now I'm
I try to avoid it, man.
no, I mean you need to read things like this. It's interesting, you know, like and
I heard it wasn't even that good though. Like the writing wasn't even that good.
no, it has nothing to do with it. It's actually what's scary about it is it's dull, and
Yeah.
it's poisonous and it's dull. So like it doesn't seem like well, it's not really saying anything too bad. It's not fiery. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's almost what's more disturbing about it. But like it's just you should understand like what seduced a whole population to like I mean basically like let's go to war with the world
Yeah.
because we're better. Like what seduced them? And like you should understand it because like you see controversial political figures and they get compared to you know dictators and despots of the past, but like so you should study those people, you know?
Yeah.
So basically what he's and something that anybody in the Ukrainian insurgency movement would know very well is his opinion on the Slavs. And it was like it's laid out in Mein Kampf that like okay, so like we know what they thought about blacks and Jews like subhuman, but a lower form of human is Slav, you know, this ranking system and
Yeah.
Slavs are pretty low, like the lowest, like they're kind of dumb, but like they're big and strong and we could work them to death. You know, they're not worth like
Wow.
we if we just kill them all, right?
He sounds
We're
like a bad
wasting
guy. This
resources.
Hitler guy.
What's that?
This Hitler guy sounds very bad.
Yeah, it's like just like a Norm Macdonald thing. The more I hear about him, the less I like him.
He sounds like a
very
very
bad
bad guy.
So like, and compared them to like, okay, they're people, but you know, the American Indians were people too. But for the sake of progress, like we need to take it. We are better people. We need this land, right? We need this territory. So like, you know, we'll work them to death and get rid of them. So there was no illusions. This book was around.
Yeah.
You know, you knew what the Germans thought of you, but if you can work together, I say work together, I guess from their point of view, use the Germans. I mean, he died at their hands. He was not their friend. They were not his friend. So, I mean, there's a lot of questions like you can easily say, what would you do? I mean, you look at
Yeah.
any massive tragedy, what would you do? Like people in Bucha, like you could say, like, imagine, I met this couple. We were there, like, I saw the Ukrainian flag go up. Like, it was incredible, but we had just come into town and we didn't know what was like down the street. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, as incredible as it was, I don't think it fully
So
appreciated.
you were there first day after like it was
Immediately, like
occupied.
the flag went up. The guy, I mean, it didn't go up like that. Somebody went up on the roof and put it out the window of the town.
Was there a Russian flag up there?
I didn't see it.
Oh, okay.
I wish I had. No, I just was like, I caught it. Like I came around the corner, it was like,
Wow.
and like when we were right there, I mean, I knew where we were going. We were going to, and guys grabbed the mayor. Were giving the mayor a little bit of the what for?
Really? Like
Yeah.
the mayor like during occupation, right?
No.
Oh.
I mean, the mayor of Bucha, the elected mayor of Bucha, guys had come back to check on, you know, is there a part, guys, soldiers, volunteers, coming to check if, you know, is my house intact? What's
Yeah,
left
okay.
of what I own? And there was a feeling that the mayor should have done more to prevent the Russians from getting into town.
Okay.
The mayor of Irpin was vocal and helped organize local defense. The mayor of Bucha didn't. So I think there was some blame. I don't know enough about it, but because we met these guys, started talking, and then we went with them around to see what happened. What happened to your house? And then we met some people who said, you need to go to the church. There's a big mass grave. And, these images of just arms sticking out of the dirt.
Yeah, you have photos of this. I've seen this. Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, it was shocking because this first day we saw a lot of people that were executed in random spots. But
just like bodies like on the floor?
Wow. And like who's getting eaten by it. I saw a dog walking with just a leg in his mouth with a boot on it.
Wow.
A lot of dogs eating people, yeah. Yeah, it was. So this first day we saw some random stuff and people want to show us like somebody was killed in our yard. Somebody was killed in that garage. Like we saw one where they said they shot a woman and then poured gasoline and lit her on fire. So there was just a burnt. And like everybody looking like, I think it's a mannequin. Like we couldn't process that this happened. The next day we go back. And actually, I know you want to talk about at some point working for big media.
Yeah.
So I was with the Wall Street Journal and one interesting thing is that we got a security guy, former British Special Forces. This guy was a very kind person, but different guys, and they have protocols, right? So we have a translator, we have a writer, and the security guy. So 4 of us.
Yeah, real quick, can you talk about the major publications you were working for while in Ukraine? Just name them and then continue with the story.
While I was in Ukraine?
Yeah. So you said Washington Post.
I mean, I just sold one story to them in 2016. And with the Wall Street Journal, I worked for a lot. Stern.
Okay.
The Economist, Financial Times.
Okay, yeah.
Stuff like that.
Okay, yeah. Interesting. I just thought people might want to know. So anyways, continue the story.
Yeah. So like we got the security guy and I didn't clash too much with him, but I mean, we'll talk about how it all works. But I had a problem with just like, first of all, I don't like to be told no. Like almost childish, but
I love it.
But also, so like if you told me no and I didn't want to do it anyway, now I might do it because I don't know. But so we get a flat tire, and he doesn't have the like one of the bolts is you need a special to unlock it. He don't have it. Now we got some dudes like from the town trying to help us, and we get the tire off changed. And he says, and I had seen. This is that first day. One of the guys showed a video of.
Is this Bucha or Irpin?
In Bucha.
Bucha, okay.
A video of a street with lots of people, and like all of this, like the road Yablonska Street with all executed people.
Wow.
So but we don't know the name of the street, but we know there's a street with like 20 bodies and like some yards with like 5 people because soldiers just filmed it, like and put it on Twitter, TikTok, whatever. Yeah. So. I know it's there, and we've seen executed civilians, and this is probably the biggest career mistake I've made in my life. He's like, we had a flat tire, we don't have a spare, we need to go back. And we were looking for the street, and we came back the next morning, and just over the ridge, and we would have been the first to have seen this. Like, I should have said... I disagree with your decision. I mean, like in my mind, I was, and I'll tell you, I was in a position where I was getting paid $5,000 a week, which is like great money for like an unheard of,
especially for Ukraine
job. Yeah, so like I don't want to ruin that, but like really close to tell him like, Yeah,
wow, man.
And walk away. So we came back the next morning, and there was some photographers, and it was like. On that main street, Klitschko, both brothers were there, and we photographed it, like them cleaning up the bodies. And, like, it was a dream,
Yeah.
So I forgot, like, how we got on this topic, but, like, but I mean, like, I guess if in this case, like, think about this, like Russia did that, right? So just to go back to Bandera for a second, Russia did that. If Nazi Germany showed up the next day and was like, we got lots of weapons, obviously, what's up, boys? Let's roll.
Yeah,
what are you going to do? Like, yeah, maybe they're not the best guys, but like, let's take
yeah.
care of one problem before we take care. These guys have been killing us, and we have a chance to kick them out. I think it makes perfect sense. I mean, it makes perfect sense. You must survive.
And also, like during World War II, like Finland collaborated with Germany too.
Lots of people did.
Yeah.
Romania, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I know, but Bandera is like super controversial, especially to Polish people and all of this.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, but
Polish. I mean, we could make a list of what Polish people did to Ukrainians and what Ukrainians did to Polish people, and lots of other stuff on that list is not nice. It's really horrible stuff.
Of course.
And that's the history of man, a history of warfare. And then sometimes you make friends again. So like Polish people. I mean, I just was in Poland for a week. My son speaks fluent Polish. I lived in Poland for a few years. I have a great affinity for Poland. Some of the medics, I mean, I'm texting with now, like when we were sitting here before this started, with Polish medics who volunteer here to get an ambulance for a group of Croatians I know.
Yeah.
Right? Like these guys, like they're golden people. You know what I mean? You got a team of people. Now these two sisters, Agata and Justina, and a guy Conrad.
Yeah.
Like they're medic. One's a medic. One is an anesthesiologist, and the sister of the anesthesiologist is the girlfriend of. And I don't know what she's doing. She's learning to be a medic.
Yeah.
And so like they come here, spend half of their time in Ukraine for free, living with the guys that I've been photographing. So like there's a big affinity of Poland to Ukraine, and also for Ukraine to Poland, and a lot of problems too that are now. But the bigger problem hanging over your head is Russia. So I think guys could forget about Bandera, like in Poland.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to defend your country, because you can either, in my opinion, fight them here or fight them there. And Poland is soft. It's not what it was. It's not like Ukraine. It's not like what it was 20 years ago when everybody like had a tight face, wearing a tracksuit, with a shaved head, ready just to like hit you with a brick and take your phone.
A lot has changed in Poland.
Now it's a bunch of fat girls ordering Uber Eats. Like it's just people are a mess. You know what I mean? They're soft. They're wearing sweater vests. They look like Portuguese tourists.
That's what happens when the West comes to your country.
Yeah, like, and it's nice. It's nice as long as nothing goes wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can go out for sushi. They had nice Neapolitan place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you have all of these great things of the world. And we went to like really hardcore old school Polish place and ate some pig stomach and you know what I mean, old school stuff. So like you still have your culture, but you have choices.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they're soft. You know what I mean? They just got soft.
Well, I mean, like I feel like all the Western European countries are kind of like soft now. They're comfortable. In the U.S., it's super soft as well. Nope. Besides like what's World War II, like the war in like Afghanistan or Iraq or something. Like it's like so far away. People don't understand like the gravity, the reality of like all of it.
Absolutely. At least World War II like mobilized so many men that families felt it.
Yeah.
Like everybody knew somebody. I mean, think about that.
But that was like a whole generation ago, man. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lesson from World War II to me is like the one positive thing that I can apply to Ukraine, like the American experience. At least, I guess, for Western Europe too, they're like the men who survived, who fought, they had definitely a devil-may-care attitude towards life afterwards.
Yeah.
So like, if you just survived storming the beach at Normandy, right?
Yeah.
You just landed in Anzio and you survived and you fought your way through Monte Cassino, you know what I mean? All the way to all of this crazy stuff, or like, Battle of Midway or something. Yeah. If you survive that and like, I want to open up. I want to open up my own barber shop. I was a barber in a shop before. Now I want to open my own barber shop. But it's like some guys, even like a smaller, humble goal like this. Like, do I start my own business or do I just work for somebody else? It's safer. You know what? I don't care. You're not afraid of anything. You start your own business. You know what I mean? You take chances in life because you're already dead. And I think like a lot of obviously there's potential for. Guys want to get theirs. Like, the Hells Angels came out of war veterans riding motorcycles around like outlaws of the, American West. So I'm sure you'll have tons of crime by veterans of Vietnam, like because people feel disenfranchised and now they're trained killers and they also have a devil-may-care attitude. Yeah. So there's obviously a potential for that, and that will happen, I'm sure. But in general, I think you have a group of guys that's really hell-bent on building the country, guys who, especially after dealing with the corruption in the army, which is rampant. Yeah. Like, you're a common guy that, like, felt victim of that corruption is going to, I think, try to live his life in general without it. And, whatever the shape of the map is.
Yeah, since we were talking about the U.S., I'm sorry to like cut you off
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Like, let's talk about the political climate there, because
Okay.
there's an election coming up.
Yeah.
If one party wins, then there'll probably be less funding to Ukraine. Right now, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, he's holding up the funding. Like, are you
Yeah,
political
so,
at
like,
all, especially like in American politics?
I think of like in Rocky 3, Rocky is going to fight Thunderlips in an exhibition match. Thunderlips is Hulk Hogan, so it's boxer versus for an exhibition match.
Yeah.
Before the match, Rocky says to Hulk Hogan, how about like I hit you, chase you around a little bit, then you hit me, chase me around a little bit, and maybe afterwards can we take a Polaroid together? That's American politics. Like, you think I am 100% because you can see it now. Like yesterday, I agree. Like Mike Johnson, I don't even understand like why you would be so against. Like, you make it alone, you make it alone. But like this could have been done if they wanted to make it alone. Could have been done. Biden also stinks. Like no long range weapons. And what they said today, which actually gives me hope, if Trump should win, the one sliver of hope, because I think he is going to win.
You think he's gonna win?
I would bet. I'll bet you on it. I'll bet you $20.
Oh, we can bet $20.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
All
gonna
right,
be
done.
okay.
On the count.
$20.
So, yeah. I mean, if he makes it there, but like, I bet
If he's
gonna
not in
win.
jail first.
Yeah, exactly. Which could happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not happy about it, but yeah. So, they're talking about in Congress talking about Ukrainian drone attacks on Russian refineries, and somebody from the Biden administration implies that this is a war crime. It's a civilian target. It's a war crime, and Ukraine is held to a higher standard because they're the.
I actually
good guy.
seen this. Yeah.
So like now you got a Republican, I believe, senator saying like, well, shouldn't they attack? Like they're attacking them. So now it could turn into you're so soft that like
Yeah.
being contrarian. So it could turn that like Biden, you're so soft. We're going to show you how it's done. Maybe,
But this
it's
guy's
not without the
Republican,
realm
though?
of possibility.
No, I seen it, but this guy is like Republican, but he's not necessarily
But he's
part of
not MAGA.
the MAGA.
Exactly, but
Yeah,
but
that's
who
different.
knows?
MAGA Republicans are like different than
I
these
know
kind
he's an
of
old-fashioned
old school, yeah.
Republican.
Exactly.
So maybe that voice becomes loud. I'm just trying to think of like something to hold on to.
Yeah, because I seen this video, and then he was kind of, I don't know who he was talking to. It was like that woman, and then the Republican was saying, the senator, yeah, he was saying, so
Was it Tom Cotton?
No, it wasn't Tom Cotton.
No, because he's also
Sure.
pretty good.
Yeah, and he was saying like, so who owns these like refineries? The Kremlin owns them, right? So are they still considered civilian targets?
No,
It's like, well, we just hold
silly.
Ukraine to a higher standard.
What's
Like,
a
something like
higher
this.
standard?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Exactly.
Like it's like if we got in a fist fight and like in third grade and somebody's like no kicking in the nuts and no punching in the face, right?
Yeah.
Like so that higher standard is like yeah, like you guys are gonna fight like a noble fight. You're not gonna kick them in the nuts, but they can kick you in the nuts. What are you talking? It's nuts.
Yeah.
Actually, it's all crazy. So like they're not your friend. It's obvious that Biden and his administration they don't want Ukraine to win. They want to bleed. They want Russia to lose as slowly as and just like a military defeat's not losing.
Yeah. But
in my opinion, I don't
the
think
alternative,
either one
like
is a
for
friend.
Trump, he says he can end the war like on day one or whatever. And basically, his strategy for ending the war is just like give Russia whatever they want, Crimea, Donbass. They'll have a ceasefire, I guess. But a lot of people say they will
yeah, but I
give
mean, in this
Ukraine
plan-
extra time to build up their army again, and then just keep going further to like the Dnipro,
So-
and then that'll be the next stop, maybe.
I agree that can happen. I also wonder. I saw a little bit about it that it includes Ukraine joining NATO and joining the EU.
So if they give up
if they
Crimea
gave
and
up that,
Donbass,
then they would join those institutions, which unfortunately it's not the worst idea I ever heard. And like, nope. I mean, a lot of people might not like it. I wouldn't be surprised if we went outside and talked to 20 men on the street and they would say, no, we need to take back. Are you in the army? Of course they're not. If you ask soldiers, of course, like some are going to say, what are we fighting for? And some are going to say, I saw enough guys die. If we can cut off this, like the South is terrible. To lose Zaporizhia and Kherson is awful. To lose the wreckage that's Donbass, there's nobody pro-Ukrainian. It's gone. Nobody's going back. You take that
It's been like
territory
almost 10
back.
years,
You
yeah.
go back there? No. I mean, any normal person left Donetsk before 2022. I'm not for that plan. Don't get me wrong, but at all. But like, of all of the possible alternatives, that plan is not the worst alternative. It's just not. I mean, I don't think France would be talking about if we'll send troops to defend if they got to Odessa or Kyiv. Like, are you telling me that like you guys are contemplating that's possible? And I do think it's possible. I mean, I think it's highly unlikely, but Kharkiv is destroyed.
Yeah, I heard they're going on like on an offensive pretty soon, like Russia.
So they say.
Amassing more troops. They probably want to take Kharkiv. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're going to be managed to, but like, you know, I don't think what I see and what I hear like in social media from, not from social media news, but just like looking at what friends in the military are saying, there's definitely a feeling that, you know, secondary lines, third lines are not being done properly, not reinforced. Like, why are you doing it now? Shouldn't have this been done?
Yeah.
Like after Avdiivka, you could have stopped them 10 times along the way. You know, like where were those fortifications? Is this negative feeling then? Like, did you see? I mean, there's nothing good about the government.
Government
Like
Ukraine.
yeah. I mean, in general, I don't really like the government, but because you know, I don't like them because they collect tax money, and I don't want to.
Yeah. Have you met Zelenskyy, by the way? I seen you have a photo
Yeah.
with him. What do you think about him? Nice guy, though.
You know, I think he's
Because he was a comedian before, right?
yeah, and I mean, I think he's a good showman. I think like
Yeah.
going abroad, like speaking to the United States, you know, like I think he's great for this. I met him. I had like 5 minutes with him to take his portrait after watching Anne Applebaum and Jeffrey. I'm embarrassed to say I don't remember his last name, Goldstein or Goldberg. I can't remember, but he's like the editor at large of The Atlantic.
Yeah.
And they interviewed Zelenskyy for like 2 hours. So to be there and have, you know, kind of sometimes even chime in a little bit.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if it was solicited or not.
Yeah.
And Applebaum hasn't asked me to work with her again. So,
Yeah, but his English is getting a lot better. I noticed
it was
that.
great. And it was really good. But he's a showman. Like he came down the hall swearing, you know,
Yeah.
cursing. And then he comes in the room and is like, oh, I didn't realize you were here already. I hope nobody in English. I hope nobody understood what I was saying.
Yeah.
Like you obviously know who everybody in the room is. You do.
Yeah.
They told you like you're meeting these people. You know who Anne Applebaum is.
Yeah.
You know they understand what you're saying.
That was
So,
his
like,
profession before. He's like a showman.
yeah, absolutely. And he was super charming, super charming. I met him once before when he was president a few years ago at Invictus Games.
Mhm.
And like he was there and like guys, my friends who were injured, they was during the qualifiers to see who would make the Invictus team.
Yeah.
So my friends injured guys, like a more nationalist guys. I mean, they were joking, like, we could just go over, like, they were shooting bows and arrows.
Yeah.
Like, I could just take this arrow and just stab him. Like, kind of joking. Like,
Yeah.
there's nobody watching him. Nobody's paying attention to him. He spoke in front of a group of, you know, these injured veterans and their families.
Yeah.
A couple hundred people in a little stadium where they were having these trials. Nobody clapped. Nobody stood up. Everybody sat with their arms folded.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, I'm Slava. Like, just not
What
enthusiastic.
year was this?
17, 18.
2017?
something
Yeah,
like
because
that.
I remember
Maybe 19.
when the election was going on, it was him and Poroshenko. All my friends, it seems like they were pro Poroshenko.
Yeah.
And hardly anybody was like Sluga Naroda, you know, Zelensky. And I remember going to the stadium, they had this big debate, and it was like this big kind
Yeah,
of
it was
showmanship. Yeah. And I was super surprised to look at the map, like after like the results were in. Basically every region except for Lviv voted for like Zelensky.
Yeah, the village, because he promised cheap gas. I
Yeah.
mean, he's a showman, just like Trump was. I mean, Trump was a showman. He had a TV show.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know? He marketed his name more than he did. You know, he was more of a marketer than he was a genius businessman. You know,
Yeah, and before the full-scale invasion, I wasn't really too
It's parallel.
sold on him. Like either, I'm like, okay, it's like we had our own Trump, our own showman, and now you know
Same.
Ukraine has that. So I felt like there's too many
Same.
parallels. But then, after the invasion, when he was going to other countries and doing like a heartfelt speech, he looked just like a normal guy, like you or me.
Same.
Yeah,
I
and
feel
like
the same.
if Poroshenko did that, I would be like, oh, this guy's like elitist, like.
Stuffed shirt. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then like I just felt like so much like emotion, like because this guy didn't want to do this, you know, it was like thrust upon him, and he's aged so much since then.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like the photography people do,
No,
like,
he looks
that makes him
he's a
look older.
completely different
But
person.
yeah, you know, it's so crazy like how he's
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing
how
him
my opinion of him has changed.
the morning of the election. He went to vote. You know, at his whatever his local voting station in Obolon. So there was, you know, a little bit of a dog and pony show. So I went there. I think I was working for Bloomberg News.
Yeah,
Went there, photographed it during the day. him voting, and then I'll go to the election post, and then be there at night. It's clear he's going to win, so go to the victory party at night. And I sent, I took my photographs and send them, and the editor in New York calls me like, "What's going on?" I was like, "What do you mean what's going on?" I don't understand the question. What's going on? Because he's like, something's wrong.
Yeah.
I was like, did I put them in sepia by mistake? Like, what do you mean? I don't understand. The captions are in Chinese. What's happening? And he's like, dude, he's not smiling at all. You don't have any pictures of him celebrating. He looked like he just got sentenced to prison. And like in the morning when he came in, he had some security guys that I've seen during the campaign. They looked like they were Samoans or something, like Polynesians.
Weird.
They looked different, right? He like private security and just big goons, but they were a certain way. And then when he came through the crowd, he came to the stage and then off the stage. They, the guys with the thing, and he looked like in this little bubble, and he looked like completely freaked out. Like he looked like, Jesus Christ, what have I done?
Yeah.
What have I gotten myself into, or what has somebody else gotten me into? It's just like my impression,
Yeah. What year was this? This was like after the invasion, or
No. This is on the election.
on the election? Okay.
Yeah, like just like how his day changed from like, it was all the show to like now it's real, and he looked terrified.
I got this vibe from like when Trump got elected, because nobody
Same.
believed he was going to be elected. Then he got elected, and he just had like this look like, oh, what am I doing, man?
Same. I covered the campaign. Photographers I know who covered the campaign that year, where everybody felt like he was going to win.
Yeah.
Whether you liked him or didn't like him, but like just going, the enthusiasm. And I think it'll be super close now. But I mean, unfortunately, I don't know. I mean, think about this. Just like I watched Kamala Harris on Instagram Reel talking about women's NCAA basketball.
Yeah. So college basketball.
Yeah. But women's college basketball.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to her talk in this 30-second clip, just 30 seconds. And the thought that Joe Biden is like, however old, he don't look great. I mean, he don't look good.
It's true, man.
Yeah. I mean, like people
he's like
say
over 80.
about, I think he's 82.
82, yeah.
So like what people said about John McCain and Sarah Palin, like, okay, McCain is okay, but he's old. He's got cancer, like, a heartbeat away.
Yeah.
It's exactly this crazy. She's nuts. Either nuts or dumb. Maybe both. Definitely.
Palin or Harris?
Harris.
Because Palin is also.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But like the idea that this nut is this close. Okay, you picked a woman. This time I'm going to even up to you. You picked a woman of color. Amazing.
Yeah, it seemed like it was like for diversity.
But I think the one thing they shouldn't be diverse about is like IQ over 85. Are you special needs or not? She's special needs. Something's wrong with her. Watch her. Something is wrong with her.
Yeah, I've never paid too much attention to her.
You should, because she's going to be president.
Well, you think he's gonna
if he
gets
wins
reelected? You think he's gonna die in office?
4 years? I mean,
Trump's like not that far behind him.
No, I'm
Trump
curious who he's gonna pick. I have a nightmare scenario.
What, Marjorie Taylor Greene?
No,
she's sucking up to him so bad, man.
I think but she's not. She wouldn't help him. I think Tucker Carlson might help him.
Tucker Carlson, no.
Yeah, I know. I think it's kind of crazy, but. I mean, maybe he'll just
like your own thoughts, or you heard
my own
from someone else.
Just my own thoughts. That like, no, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene's just nuts. Yeah. Like, so whatever. She's just
sucking up to him so hard, bro.
Yeah, she does. I mean, and she was talking about this, the same, like Ukrainians are killing Christians. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I see people going to church. Everything looks normal. There's two chaplains in the stabilization point I work at. They're
so shameless. Like they literally just make up stuff.
Yeah,
like with no facts behind it. Nobody fact checks them at all. Like it
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because like they just want to put message out there. It doesn't matter if it's real or not. It's just been planting the idea, planting seeds.
Yeah. No, it's so crazy how there's so many single issue voters or people. Like in the U.S., it's so polarized to whereas Republican, Democrat, it's like what team are you on?
Yeah,
and you can never go for the other team. Like if you don't like who your quarterback is, you still go for the team, but you're like. Not happy about it, but you still go for your team, and it seems like it's like that. And it's not sports.
Yeah, I mean,
this is the future of people.
Yeah, I think so. It's just completely polarized and try to put you in as many boxes as possible.
Yeah,
and in politics, it's 2 boxes. Even like I can't stand. I think he's the worst of the 3. Is Robert Kennedy Jr. I think he's the absolute worst of the 3. Like if I had to pick, I would say,
he can barely talk. Like,
yeah, what's wrong? I don't know what's that.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with him either. So, but he can barely speak.
I think it's. Yeah, something's going on.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
better actually. A president who just can't talk. Actually, I changed my mind. I'm voting for him. But like people, like now it just becomes like if you vote for him, you're voting for Biden. If you vote for him, you're voting for Trump. Like the idea that like somebody can't just run as a third party, like they're trying to. I mean, it's quite obvious they're trying to control the market on it. But just the way the Republicans too, like they didn't want Trump in
Our whole
16.
election system needs to be kind of like redone. Like we need like I don't know for this first past the post, it just doesn't work for us. This electoral college vote, it doesn't work for us. We need something that is like more fitting for like our modern time.
I think the system is
like
I
ranked
think
choice
it's fine.
voting. I don't know.
I think the parties like the whole. My opinion, a good way to fix it is like some countries have just a limited amount of election cycle. There's like a certain amount of ads that are on TV, right?
Yeah.
And like just a limited amount. You get a certain amount of time every week in advertisements. You get a certain limited amount for a month.
Yeah.
And just take the money out of it. And like loosen their grip. Allow it that. There's some things I like about Libertarian Party, but it's like crackpots. But like,
And they're never gonna win.
no, but if they could develop, if there was some way they could develop an actual strong party, or anybody else, just having a strong independent party that maybe is middle of the road. You know what I mean? Like just a center left, center right kind of. Maybe something that, for example, that. How many people in your life that say I'm fiscally conservative but socially liberal? It's kind of. I think a super like what if there was a party like that? Like, but the ability for that party to actually to have a system where a party like that, a third and fourth party would actually have a legitimate chance. Like break up the monopoly of the Republicans and the Democrats, because I think they just don't give it. They just don't care.
Yeah, there's too much money in politics.
They just like chasing each other around and they control it.
What is it? Kristen Sinema, it was? Like she was like this senator from Arizona. So she ran, she's like, this lesbian bisexual woman. She was senator.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so she was like kind of like very progressive in the eyes of like a lot of people. And so they voted her as senator. And right when she became a senator, she was taking like a lots of donations, and she totally flipped her positions. And she was like, when it came to like impeachment or something like this, or when it came to kind of during Trump's presidency, she was like the deciding vote, and she went from voting with the Democrats to voting with the Republicans.
Uh-huh.
And so after one term, she got voted out.
Uh-huh.
But this is like a perfect example of, I don't know, once you get into politics, there's just too much money for some people to pass up.
Yeah, I mean, if there was no money in it, I'd like to see people, because I don't think, like the goal. I don't think that we should want a politician who's going to do what you want him to do necessarily.
Do you like Bernie Sanders?
Huh?
Do you like Bernie Sanders? I think he's old as hell too, but
No, I don't like him.
you don't like him.
No, I think he's the same like the rest of them.
You think so?
Yeah. So, like John Kennedy wrote a book called Profiles in Courage. Maybe you read this in high school.
Profiles of Courage?
Yeah, and it's I mean, whether he wrote it or not, God only knows, but it's got his name on it. I believe it won a Pulitzer Prize, and it was about different politicians in American history who went against their party because it was something they believed in, and usually cost them their careers. So like Seward was the Secretary of State, Lincoln's Secretary of State.
Yeah.
He got shot that same night. He didn't die. But he bought Alaska from the Russians, right? And it was called Seward's Icebox. Everybody was like, "Are you out of your mind?" He was like, no, I think we're going to need that someday, right? And it ruined his career,
Yeah.
Who voted to? There was a senator from the South who voted in impeachment of Johnson to keep him,
Yeah.
and went against party lines, and that cost him his career. They're like, you're voting for a man or a woman who, of course, like you have common ideology, but you also trust them as an individual of high character to do the best, because they're obviously going to know more, in theory, should know more about the subjects they're voting on than you or I do. And like, yeah, in general, we think the same way, but like on this topic, like any given topic, like you're going to vote to do the thing that you think is right, that you feel in your conscience is right. And that, I mean, is removing, let's see, essential to remove the money from politics. I don't know how to do that. I mean, we're just saying like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these super PACs, like everything has to be kind of like abolished. There was like this way that I heard that was super interesting was that, during the election cycle, the government gives everybody X amount of dollars.
This is what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and they can put it towards like their politician of their choice. And if they don't use it, then they lose it. So
That's a big thing.
Yeah, and
that's
so
a big thing, being able to keep that money. That's a big thing.
and nobody gets elected. You just keep your money. But anyways, we have to wrap it up now. It's like our time. So I'll tell you what. Thanks for joining us. But why don't you just tell the audience how they can find your your photo book. Maybe your social media pages. Like
Social media I use the most is my Instagram.
Instagram. Okay. Can you like at
Occhicone98. I mean, put it up there on the screen.
And you have a website too, right?
I do, yeah. www.chrisocchicone.com. My name is impossible to spell, but yeah, if you can put the text, it would be nice.
Oh yeah, it'll be there. It'll be there.
So, and I want to say, like, I'm always collecting money for my friends in Fifth Brigade Medical Rota. They always, need equipment. It gets destroyed, it gets lost, and there's always like possibilities to upgrade their ability to treat guys in the field. Like last year we got Lucas machine that does like artificial resuscitation, like it's strap in, so like it frees up doctors' hands like when a guy is crashing for reanimation. A very high quality portable ultrasound machine which lets you find veins for find an artery for catheters, find shrapnel, assess internal damage so that when you write a report and he's going from the stabilization point to the hospital, so we were able to do all that. So like if you follow me on social media, I'm always putting up different monobank and PayPal to collect money from this stuff, and so it's something to keep an eye on if you follow me.
Yeah, so follow Chris, donates. Sounds like a really good cause. And I just want to also thank the audience for watching our channel, and I want to thank Gaze for making this all possible. GAZE Media. Yeah, don't get it twisted. And if you really like the podcast that we're doing, please like and subscribe. And if you have any questions about anything that we discussed, or you have a comment about the future of Ukraine, leave a comment down below, and we'll definitely take a look at it. And yeah, thanks again, Chris, for joining us like on the podcast. And yeah, no, it's a pleasure chatting with you. Like I told you before, I love your photos. I really had a lot of fun, in this podcast. So I hope to see you again, man. And hopefully we can have some samahon one day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay. Cheers, man. Well, let's shake hands, man.
All right. Thanks.